Well, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to transition over to my slides. You should be able to see that just fine. And if you made it here, this is the Facebook Live to close out Snow Squall Awareness Week. This is day 4. Tomorrow, day 5, will just be sort of a wrap-up summary. But hopefully after we leave here tonight, you'll have a good idea of how to keep yourself safe from snow squalls, what would happen if you happen to be in a snow squall, and then what the science of snow squalls are. So this is going to be hosted by us, the National Weather Service and State College. We've collaborated this content with the other offices that cover Pennsylvania. So that's Pittsburgh, that's Cleveland, Binghamton, and Mount Holly or Philadelphia office. And special thanks goes to these 4 agencies for their help. Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency has been incredible. Jonathan and I got a chance to go down to Pima for a press conference on Monday, and man, it was just so fun to be down there with them. We appreciate all of their efforts. PennDOT, which takes care of all the roadways and is critical in terms of getting the word out about snow squalls on the digital message signs. Pennsylvania State Police as well, which are sort of the first responders for, unfortunately, some of the big pileups we've had. And then finally, the Pennsylvania Turnpike. If you're ever driving along there, snow squalls can affect many of the roads across Pennsylvania, so it's an all-hands-on-deck approach. Just so you are aware, if you're interested in seeing all this content that's been posted on social media, you can use this hashtag SnowSquallSafetyPA. All the content we've put out is grouped with that hashtag, and you can find it there as well. I want to start tonight with sort of the centerpiece of our entire campaign about snow squall safety. This video was provided to us by William Van Aken, who was in Wisconsin and drove through a snow squall, provided us the footage, and our forecaster Greg DeVore, who's done incredible work with snow squalls in terms of research and has been a real pioneer in that realm, along with a couple of meteorologists. So Greg put this together, and let's just take some time now to watch this video that really drives home the danger of snow squalls. So that video really shows how crazy fast things can change, the danger of them. It's a miraculous thing that he was able to maneuver and navigate through, but you saw the tractor trailer that began to lose control, hitting the plow and causing the plow to tip over. We really want to drive home the point tonight that there is no safe place on a highway during a snow squall. That's, again, the centerpiece of this campaign, that there's no safe place on a highway during a snow squall. So as we go through tonight, we're going to highlight a few different topics. First, we're going to talk about snow squall science. What are they? What are the conditions associated with them? We'll talk about communication. We're going to talk then about safety. So under science, we'll talk what is a snow squall. We'll define it pretty clearly. Often people think a lot of things are snow squalls, but there's a unique set of characteristics associated with them. And then we'll talk about flash freeze, which is this particular occurrence that makes snow squalls unique and particularly dangerous. In the category of communication, we'll talk about snow squall warnings that we have the capability to issue. This will be our 4th year issuing them. And then we'll also talk about wireless emergency alerts and the ability of your cell phone to be able to get these snow squall warnings and what you should do in response. And then in terms of safety, number one overall thing is to stay off the roads. There's no safe place on a highway during a snow squall. But we'll also talk about if you do get caught in a snow squall, what's the way that you can keep yourself safe and minimize your risk and not ideally get caught in one of those big pileups. So this is where we're going tonight: science, communication, and safety. Before we dive into the science portion, I want to just take a moment to say thanks to those who have joined. If you do have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Jonathan Guzman, my warning coordination meteorologist, is going to be monitoring the questions for the first half while I'm talking, and then I'll toss it over to him. Would be more than happy to answer any questions you guys have to the best of our ability. All right, let's go ahead and dive into the snow squall science aspect of this. Here's one of the posters that we have, again, with the plow tipping over. I want to drive the point home, hey, best not to be on the highway during a snow squall. So what are snow squalls? I want to first direct your attention here to this 4-panel of photos on the right-hand side. This came to us from PennDOT, and you can see 4 different webcams. These are within a fairly short distance from each other, about a mile or 2, and you can see on the top left, plenty of sunshine, no snow whatsoever, but then a short distance away at these others, you can see how the visibility is much, much lower. And in a matter of a very short distance, it can go from plenty of sunshine to less than a quarter-mile visibility in dangerous conditions. So what are snow squalls? They are thin, convective-like bands of heavy snow due to high instability and strong synoptic forcing or fronts. That's a lot of fancy jargon, but basically it's the equivalent of maybe a squall line that occurs in the summer, a summertime thunderstorm. You get a cold front pushing through, and right along that cold front, you get a lot of lift, a lot of upward motion, and then you can get some really, really strong snow showers that can occur. One of the unique aspects of snow squalls is their heavy snowfall rates. You can often have up to 2 inches of snow in just 30 minutes, which is a crazy amount of snow in a very short amount of time, which can cause rapid accumulation. And really the best comparison is these are like miniature blizzards. In a matter of minutes, you can have partly cloudy skies, and then all of a sudden you're driving into heavy snow with wind gusts of 30 or more miles per hour and visibility less than a quarter of a mile. You might just be driving along, just looks cloudy up ahead, and all of a sudden you're in one of these snow squalls, and it can go from a peaceful day to something that's quite scary. Another aspect of this is there's a lot of moisture conversions at the surface. Again, for those that are really interested in the meteorology and kind of nerding out about that, that's a detail. But if that's not something you're particularly interested in, just suffice it to say, miniature blizzard, pretty heavy snowfall that occurs with these snow squalls. So a comparison similar to maybe the blizzard comparison is a thunderstorm. So what we like to say is that snow squalls are sort of the wintertime equivalent of a summertime thunderstorm. So let's kind of talk through how that is. So a summertime thunderstorm is a violent, short-lived weather disturbance. We've all been outside in the summer, bright sunshine, you start to see the clouds darkening up, and all of a sudden you get heavy rain, and at times with the heaviest showers you can get up to 4 inches of rain in only 30 minutes. Often strong winds with severe thunderstorms that can create some damage, and the hazards include lightning, thunder, hail, tornadoes, and all of the hazards. You can get flooding from these. That is the summertime thunderstorm. Now, a snow squall, by comparison, is a brief but intense period of heavy snow. So obviously, thunderstorm has rain, snow squall has snow. You can get up to 2 inches of snow in just 30 minutes. Strong winds, 30 plus miles per hour, and whiteout conditions with visibility less than a quarter of a mile. Just with the snow alone, that's maybe not terribly dangerous. I mean, we've all driven through when there's just a little bit of the snow on the roads, and maybe it's a little bit slick, but generally folks in Pennsylvania are decent at driving in the snow, and we know, hey, we can probably stop. We'll slow down our speed a little bit, and things will be just fine, right? Well, the big difference here is what we call a flash freeze. Now, I want you guys to sort of zone into this in particular. So when there's a cold front in the wintertime, we often call it an Arctic front because there's really cold air coming behind it. And what happens is you get snow that falls on pavement that's above freezing, and that snow melts on contact. On a sunny day, the sun's shining down on the asphalt, warming it up, and we see even if the temperature is below freezing in the air, the asphalt or the road temperature can push 40, 50, even 60 degrees Fahrenheit. So as the snow begins to fall, well, it's just going to melt on contact. So it's just a wet road at that point as the snow begins to fall. Well, what happens as you move forward is after the front goes through, the winds kick up, the temperatures plummet pretty quickly, and the road temperature falls below freezing. Now the problem with that is the road that was wet before is now turning into a sheet of ice. It can also happen even if the road temperatures are below freezing before the snow squall moves through. The tires move over the snow as the snow begins to fall heavier and heavier. That compression or the tires moving over melts the snow, but then because the air temperatures are below freezing, it causes that sheet of ice. And this is the big difference here between just a snow shower and a snow squall. A snow shower, it's coming down pretty good, but the road is not ice. It's maybe been treated. Maybe there's not as many issues, but the problem with the snow squall is the snow falls so quickly, and you get this flash freeze component that man, it's really difficult to treat the roads and get them properly treated, especially if maybe it's been raining the days before and all the salt and things are are rinsed off of the road. So again, the flash freeze is the really critical aspect of a snow squall and what makes it unique. If there's no flash freeze, it's really not a snow squall. Heavy snow shower, sure, something that was made it hard to see, undoubtedly, but doesn't have quite the same danger as what snow squalls have. Now, another thing to note is that a flash freeze, which is the critical aspect of a snow squall, is a flash freeze can only happen with temperatures at 32 degrees Fahrenheit or lower. So air temperatures at 32 degrees Fahrenheit or lower. And because of that, that sort of limits the time of year when snow squalls often occur. Temperatures at 32 degrees or lower generally are going to fall between November and March. And that's why we've set this week as Snow Squall Awareness Week. In fact, it looks like there's at least some potential for even next Monday for some snow squalls to occur somewhere in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Nothing to worry about at this point, but certainly after tonight you'll be prepared to be able to respond in the ways that you should. But again, November to March is the time frame, and even if there's not any snow squalls for a little while, make sure to store this stuff in your mind so you remember how to respond on days when snow squalls are potentially in the forecast. So let's now review the science of snow squalls, and at that point I'll pass it off to Jonathan for the second half of the presentation. So what are they? There's intense, short-lived, moderate to heavy snowfall bursts. They cause a quick reduction in visibility and whiteout conditions from the gusty winds. And they're associated with strong cold fronts which bring Arctic air during the winter. Sort of the equivalent of a summertime thunderstorm. And the big concern is the flash freeze. The impacts are rapidly deteriorating road conditions that can cause roads to become icy and slick in a matter of minutes, what we call this flash freeze. And what happens, as we saw in the video earlier, a car starts to try to stop or slow down and realizes, oh man, this is ice, I can't stop, sort of lose control, you can create an accident, and guess what happens? Nobody can stop behind you, and that's how we can get these 10s, 20s, 30s, even sometimes upwards of 100 car pileups that cause many destructive aspects and even injuries and unfortunately deaths in a lot of situations. So we want to be mindful of snow squalls, take them seriously, and remember that the difference here with snow showers and snow squalls is that flash freeze component. All right, at this point, I'm going to invite Jonathan back over here. He's typing, probably answering some questions, things like that. Jonathan's going to take over part 2 of this presentation. Continue to put your questions in the chat. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and I'm going to pass it over to Jonathan.
All right, good to see everybody online here this evening. Yeah, I was getting some good questions and feedback in the Facebook chat there, so I was just trying to take care of some of those for John. So as he mentioned, we're going to get into more of the communication side of things, and then look at what you can do. Hopefully, not putting yourself in harm's way to be on the roadway during a snow squall, but if you are, what you can best do, how you can receive that information, and then again, what best to do if that does occur there. So let's see. There we go. All right, so getting into snow squall warnings here, which John's alluded to a few times and talked about. So what are they? What do they look like? So really one of the best analogies, as he brought up, was a severe thunderstorm or tornado or flash flood. So essentially we get into our workstations, draw a warning polygon as we call them, and then once we create that and issue that, we get a text box that comes up where we can freeform text. Most of it's pre-formatted in there from the polygon that we draw, and then once we ship that out, it's hitting the airwaves in a matter of seconds. So over the wireless emergency alert system, the emergency alert system, coming across TV scrolls, etc. So an example here in this graphic of what one looks like. So you can get several counties within one, and again, usually not not as large as a watch or anything, for example, but on the order of what you would see with a summertime severe thunderstorm warning. And then getting into kind of more what they look like and how they're formatted. So again, more localized. And then when the snow squall is imminent or occurring at that time. So typically, in effect, we can do them as short as about 15 minutes, and then usually no longer than an hour in terms of their longevity and time frame there. So you see in this example goes through the hazards. So as John mentioned with a snow squall, the real big delineator between those and say just a snow shower is going to be the flash freeze component. So as we all know, any heavier snowfall or real quick snow burst can lead to visibilities at a quarter mile or less and produce drastic visibility reductions, especially hazardous when driving. So that flash freeze component on the roadways where the temperatures are sharply dropping are really what drive these. And while not one of the said criteria that has to be met, gusty winds typically do occur with them, but we don't put an exact label on how fast they have to be. All right, so we know what a snow squall warning is now and kind of what it looks like by and large. So how do you get these? Well, the main way that most people are going to get them is over this, what we call the WEA alerts, or wireless emergency alerts. So if you've got a smartphone, you've probably gotten one of these for a flash flood warning or a tornado warning before. So the only winter time phenomena that these are going to go out for is snow squalls. So it looks like a text message. You see here what a typical message would pop up on a phone. It's pretty short and sweet and to the point. So it tells you obviously an emergency, and then in this example it was a tornado warning, and then when it's valid till, and then who it was from. So obviously you're getting these hazardous weather warnings are going to be from the National Weather Service. So a snow squall warning looks very, very similar to that. And going through, so to receive them, we get asked a lot if there's an app or what you have to do to register for them. So there's nothing you have to do. You just have to keep the option enabled on your smartphone. So there's also Amber Alerts and Presidential Alerts available on most, along with the weather side. So just keep the weather alerts enabled there. You're not going to get a whole lot of them, and thinking throughout the year on by and large, certainly may get a couple. But the idea here is if your cell phone's picking up signal off a cell tower that's within that warning polygon, it's going to alert and go off. So quick way to to get them. Most people have their phones with them a lot of the time now. So if you do see them, say seeking details, certainly our broadcast media partners are going to be broadcasting them out, talking about them. You can get additional information on that. But we'll go through in here in a few minutes what you should do if you are caught out in a snow squall. And just kind of a quick and brief tutorial on how to go through and make sure they're enabled. So going into your phone settings and then looking up the wireless emergency alerts or emergency alert notifications, maybe coined or termed something like that. And again, make sure that the weather ones are on for you. So and I think we had a few visitors outside of Pennsylvania on this evening, but in terms of where to go to check road conditions, in almost all states, if you're located elsewhere, have something very similar to this. But the 511 PA site or the app, great way to go out and actually see road conditions. You can see maps that have the roadways, main highways at least, color-coded based on what travel conditions are and travel speeds. So 511pa.com, or again the app, it'll give you the live traffic conditions. Cameras set up on many of the major, especially U.S. highways, state highways, and interstates, and you can kind of get an idea where the weather is, where the main weather impacts are, and where it's moving from, and where the most congestion and slowdowns are. So an easy way to kind of keep it with you as you go, or maybe seek alternate routes if need be. And hitting on the safety side here, so we talked about what a snow squall warning is. That's our way to get the information out to you that hazard is going to occur or is occurring, and then showed you some ways to kind of monitor as you get one of those, how things are progressing in terms of those continuing to occur or coming to an end. So getting on the safety aspect here, so what to do when a snow squall warning is issued. Well, hopefully you haven't left home yet or somewhere safe, not in a vehicle at that point. So the best thing you can do is just not to travel at that time. So if you see it's valid until whenever 3 or 4 p.m., because most of these are going to happen in the afternoon time frames. They can certainly happen outside of that. But just delaying your travel outside of that window until the snow squall has passed. If you are on the highway, if you're somewhere that you can safely exit off of, we ask that you would do that because, again, we're gonna drive it home. There is no safe place to be on a highway or any roadway during a snow squall, even a shoulder, median, wherever. No place is safe, as you've seen in the video, and we'll reiterate here toward the end. All right, so kind of showing what one of these could look like. So we've gone through the communication, some of the safety here. Now kind of getting into real world examples, what you could expect. So here on the left, you see what's more or less a partly sunny or partly cloudy day. Looks like some residual salt left over on the highways. Cars zooming along just fine. No real restrictions at all to visibility at this point. And then what can just be a few minutes later or several seconds later in some cases here on the right, you essentially can't see anything. So you see what looks like a little box truck driving down there, and that's about it. So certainly visibility of within the quarter-mile or less range at that point. And then you can just imagine the wet roadway and then the rapidly cooling temperatures behind that, not being able to keep your traction, not being able to see. Certainly not a good feeling to have. So that's why, again, if you're not out on the highway, don't get out during one of these. Just wait till it passes, because that's another thing to remember. They are pretty short and brief in duration much of the time. And usually that hour time frame, we talk 30 to 60 minutes. 60 minutes is going to be the upper echelon for any of these. Most of them are several minutes, if that. All right. So again, driving home, there is no safe place whatsoever during a snow squall. So we'll play this again. You see this interstate here with certainly a wreck from snow-covered roadways. Again, the flash freezing component, not being able to see where you're at. You see traffic at a stop here, cars ramming in the back here, and then we see the semi trying to stop and skirt off here. So I'll point out one more thing, play this video one more time here. You actually see a person walking right here out of their vehicle and just getting missed by this tractor trailer veering off to the right. So that's why we really drive this idea of this entire slogan home. There is no safe place at all on a highway. No matter if you're getting out to help others, whatever it may be, doing maintenance to your car, checking on someone, getting into the median, shoulder, wherever, there is no safe place because nobody has control where their vehicle is going to go. So it's essentially more or less debris or a missile flying at you. So if you are caught out on a highway and you can't safely exit, say you're in the middle of a stretch of, for example, I-80 where there just is no exit. So reducing your speed as best you can. So certainly don't want to slam your brakes and block up your brakes and start losing traction and control that way. So essentially I'd like to say no sudden movements. So gradually try to reduce your speed as possible and conservatively as you can. Turning on your lights, especially your hazard lights, to make yourself more visible to all of those around you. And hopefully in this case, when you see traffic piled up in front of you and stopped, you see the hazard lights, that's going to hopefully signal to your brain a little quicker to start slowing down or do what you can to get out of harm's way there. And essentially not panicking. So again, hopefully you're not caught in this type of situation, but doing everything you can to gradually slow it down and get out of harm's way as quickly as possible without oversteering or going overboard there. And this part of the video John showed before, but just showing how drastically and quickly visibility can drop here just in the matter of minutes or even seconds at times. So again, just reiterating all the points down there in the bottom left, to make no sudden movements. Play it one more time here. So staying in your lane. It may be a case where a plow's cleared one lane, not the other. In a case with a snow squall, they're probably both going to be covered. So you might as well just stay in your own lane. Again, no drastic sudden overcorrections or movements, and allow yourself to increase your following distance as conservatively as you can without slamming on the brakes here. Yeah. All right, so the first of, I believe it's 2 little quiz questions we have here, and I'll give a few seconds in between. You can type in your responses, and John will see them flying through here. So, we talked about this. This was more in the science section that John went over. So what is the name of the process by which the road turns into a sheet of ice as the snow squall moves through? I'll give you a hint, it's 2 words. There we go. See, 1 response came in, so if everybody's looking in the chat there, so yes, there's more rolling in. So yeah, I think we probably said it, I don't know, half a dozen times at this point. So yeah, flash freeze. So again, what we're looking at here, a snow squall essentially looks like a blizzard, just a much shorter duration of that. The gusty winds, the drastically reduced visibilities. But again, the idea here is that the snowfall melts on the road there. Feels like you're driving on a wet roadway, and then the drastically cooling temperatures behind a strong cold front, or an Arctic front, as we sometimes call them, freezes that sheet of that water into a sheet or glaze of ice, and essentially causes you to lose all traction. So the flash freeze component is really one of the ones that delineates a snow squall from any other type of winter product we would issue. Okay, and I think just to rehash on the safety here and tie it all up, invite John back in. He's been one of really the main pioneer in driving a lot of this with the Weather Service offices that serve Pennsylvania, the 4 other offices, Binghamton, Mount Holly, Pittsburgh, and Cleveland, that all serve Pennsylvania, and then our other agencies you see in the banner there at the bottom here that he talked about. So I want him to tie this up and really drive home the message that we're trying to portray across as we head into the heart of winter here. So thank you all, everyone.
All right, everybody. Fantastic. We're wrapping up here. Just want to tidy everything up. So in review, snow squalls, heavy blowing snow, wind gusts up to 40 miles an hour, and icy roads created by that flash freeze. The impacts can be dangerous, life-threatening travel, as you've seen in a lot of these. Now, ideally, if a snow squall warning is issued, you're going to delay travel or safely exit the roadways. But if you are stuck in a snow squall, I want to encourage you to slow down gradually, turn on your headlights, and just remember that there's no safe place on a highway when snow squalls are approaching. And again, all of this is sort of the most ideal situation. If you can get off the road, that's fantastic. If you absolutely can't, we totally understand. There's situations that prevent you. Maybe there's not an exit, or maybe you're stuck in a traffic jam, whatever it might be. But we just want to try to minimize the number of injuries and or deaths that occur from these. So second quiz question, you guys did well on the last one. Let's see, where is a safe place on a highway during a snow squall? Where is a safe place on a highway during a snow squall? Give you guys a chance to test your knowledge. Hopefully we've answered this question plenty through the course of this past half hour. Few answers beginning to come in. And yes, you are correct. There isn't one. There's no safe place on a highway during a snow squall. As we said, if you're stuck on one, you can still survive the thing, but it's just not ideal because as that one video showed, even if you're up the hill on the side of the road, it's not to say that a truck or a car even could come up on the side and cause issues for you. So please take these things seriously. We really, 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 really want to drive the point home. There's no safe place on a highway during a snow squall. So as we close up, we want to give you some tools and resources to check back to. First off, we have all this content and more at www.weather.gov/CTP. That's for Central Pennsylvania. That's our office /snow squall. All the graphics are posted up there. You can watch the video that we showed at the beginning and continue to go back to that. As snow squalls are actually in the forecast through the course of this winter, you can bet that we will be posting about it on social media and doing the best we can to get the word out because of how dangerous these things can be. Speaking of social media, you can find us on Twitter at NWS State College and on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, still NWS State College. And all this content, you can search back to hashtag SnowSquallSafetyPA. That's going to be the spot where you want to check everything out and again, resort back. So please do tell your family, tell your friends, spread the word about this. That's the best way we're going to get the word out to folks about the dangers of these snow squalls. We may not be able to prevent every single injury or death, but we certainly hope that we can minimize them this winter in Pennsylvania and across the Northeast and Great Lakes region where these things are possible. Continue to put your questions in the chat. We're going to go ahead and wrap up the broadcast here shortly, but the Facebook Live will continue to exist, so continue the conversation. We really, really, really appreciate you guys coming tonight on behalf of Jonathan Gooseman, the Weather Service here in State College, our colleagues at PEMA, PennDOT, the Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission, and Pennsylvania State Police. Thank you so much. Please stay safe, and remember, there's no safe place on a highway during a snow squall this winter.